Adam, welcome to the Disenfranchised. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks very much. The sun's out as we're recording this, so yeah, everything's
Not
looking
in
a bit
sunny
more
Blackpool.
positive.
Not in sunny Blackpool, Huddersfield.
I
You
thought
got
it was
the
supposed. I thought it was always supposed to be sunny there.
really nice, blowing a gale.
Oh, fair enough. Well, down here in Kent, it's not too bad, and obviously the news with from Boris yesterday, that's putting a positive spin on everything as well. So anyway, let's get on with the podcast. So, Adam, I always like to start with all of my guests with their first job. So I'm wondering if you can tell me your first job.
Okay, it's definitely exciting. Probably like quite a few people's first jobs. And I can't actually remember which one came first, so I do apologise, but they both lasted a day. So that's why they didn't really stick in my memory. So it was either I was on a hot dog stand at the zoo, or I laboured for my dad's friend who is a sort of joiner. They both lasted a day for two different reasons. But the first one is I am definitely not a manual labour kind of person. No word of a lie, but the job for the full day was pick bricks up from front garden with a wheelbarrow, take them round to the back, and then dump them into a skip. Right?
Yeah.
I couldn't even move out of bed. The guy came to me the next day, and I couldn't actually physically get out of bed. Everything was aching. And then I decided, right, I need to be office based. I need to be where I can make sure that I'm not going to injure myself. The hot dog stand, again, crazy day. I got there and it was the busiest day of the whole zoo's history. It's never been so busy. And I didn't even have any experience of doing any kind of job, let alone like how to serve people, all that kind of that kind of setup. I had ketchup squirted at me. I had hot dogs robbed off the stand by teenagers. I just got home at that day and I thought, oh, this really isn't me. And I never went back to either of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the best first job experience, to say the least.
No, that's fair enough. So how old were you at the time?
I was around 15. Yeah, 15.
Okay,
So I
so
was still at school.
probably still at school as it happened. So did you then sort of move into any specific career or any area of business, or what was your kind of journey from that point onwards?
No, funny enough, and if you look at my career and what I've done, it sounds a bit strange that I'm going to say this, but when I was young, I never really had any drive or focus to actually be in business or make a success out of myself. There was a lot of things in my history that actually told me that I was going to do, like be a success, or it was elements of being an entrepreneur and having that spirit in me. But it wasn't a focus of me going into business or driving forward. All I knew is that I wanted to be in IT. I designed my first website when I was 13, and I knew that that's what the career I wanted to go into, just working with computers. So I went to college, went out straight after school and did an advanced NVQ in IT with no A-level for IT back then. That shows my age. It shows how far it's come. And I went to do that. Life took a different path for me, and I ended up having a little girl. And it was unexpected, but a blessing in disguise. Had to get a job to support my daughter, and ended up going and doing my degree at night in IT, as well as working during the day. So that was very difficult. But yeah, so it was my path. But I ended up going into working as a sort of IT admin inputter at a window factory. That was sort of my first proper job, really. That I got into and had that for around a couple of years.
Sure. Okay. And you mentioned that there were the signs when you were younger that you were potentially entrepreneurial. What were they?
So when I was younger, there's a couple of things, well, quite a few things, but the biggest thing that I can always remember, I didn't realise it at the time, was when I was 17, I was really into cars. Probably a lot of people like my age was modding cars, getting new exhaust, putting a dash strips across your windscreen. And I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to create a community where I could meet other people that were doing it. There's quite a lot of people that used to meet in car parks and different things.
Yeah.
We weren't really sort of away unless you went over to them and started speaking to them to be able to connect to these people. So I created a group called Crew Blackpool. Created a website for it where it was like a forum-based thing, so people could communicate and share ideas and do meetups and everything. It grew that large that it was actually one of the biggest in the UK. We used to do big car events. Where the local magazines used to come down. We held this one event whereby I think there's around 1,000 people that turned up in Blackpool. And we had Max Power magazine come down. We had helicopter footage going over, news crews. It was huge. And I was 17 at the time. So for me to be able to organise that and then start this car group, which again turned out to be one of the biggest in the UK, without even realising what I was doing. It wasn't until I actually got older and I look back at that situation and think, wow, that's basically showing business, spirit and being an entrepreneur, that you can create something that's nothing and then create, build it up to that level. It takes something. It's not the norm.
Yeah, I guess that was your passion though at the time, right? So it's easier to put the energies into building that out when you're really into it, and it's still impressive. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a lot of hard work and effort going into building out something like that. So how's that now helped you in kind of how you got to where you are today? Because I know, but the audience doesn't yet, that you built your own business and made it successful before you were 30.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know how it's helped me. Probably because again, I didn't actually realise it until I was probably around 30. That I could look back at those situations and think, yeah, it's probably destined that I was going to end up where I was. But my sort of like path in a nutshell was, my first job onto the path of how I started my business was I worked for a company called You Founders. It was one of the largest business directories in the UK, second to Yale, and everyone knows Yale. The company was started by two entrepreneurs who I still communicate with today. They're still local to where I live. Made a very good business. Sold that out for around 5 million, I believe, and then started another business and grew that to 650 employees. And then ended up selling that for 20 million to BT. So that was my first proper job working there. And my dad's a business person. He was a mortgage advisor, had a few mortgage shops, doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's always been in my line of having that sort of spirit in me. And he always said to me, look, when you go in there, it doesn't matter who's above you, always go in, look the part, put as much effort in as you can, and look to be better than the best person there. And that's what I did every day. I went in the suit, everyone was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. The role was to build websites, and I built more websites than anyone else, and they were better than anyone else. And it was soon that I got a real, hand-picked out of the, quite a lot of different people in that team to run my own team in a separate office. And then before I knew it, I had quite a lot of people under me, and it was over people that had been there for several years. And it wasn't through luck, it was again through the basic principles of, if you want to make something of yourself, you've got to put yourself apart from everyone else. If you just blend in, you're never going to get picked out from, especially in a big organisation like that. So they eventually sold out to BT for 20 million, like I say, and at that point, I very, very quickly realised that I really don't like corporate atmospheres. Even though that was a big organisation, BT is a different beast. Obviously, they are, the amount of employees they've got, make staff 650 look tiny. And I soon realised that was just a number, and I really didn't like that. I didn't like having set routines, set goals. I'm a creative by nature, and I like to be free flowing. And that's where my best ideas come from. You know, if you come up with an idea at BT, it goes through hot houses for 3 months before it can actually get brought anywhere. And that's how my first business got started. And that's how I sort of said to myself, right, this is the time that I need to get out of this. I really wasn't happy. Never really, I sort of knew that I wanted to go alone, but I didn't really, it wasn't like, you know, where people say to themselves all the time now, you know, everyone wants to go into business these days, be their own boss. But it was never sort of really like top of my agenda. I had kids, you know, family always comes first for me, without a shadow of a doubt. But, you know, I wanted to have a career that I was happy in. If I had a career path and I was happy at BT, I thought I would have stayed there because, you know, I think a good career at a good company is as good as being your own boss, personally. It's just whatever makes you happy. So when that happened, I left there and I set up my own company, doing websites, and also I found a bit of a niche doing custom CRM systems. So at BT, we had our own systems whereby it had all customers' details, orders, notes, everything you need to know to run your business and run it across big teams or multiple offices. But it was surprising, this was probably around 14, maybe 15 years ago, how many people didn't use these kind of systems. There's so many cloud-based systems on the internet now that you can pick up and then you can run your business with ease. But back then it was nothing, like genuinely nothing. The one at BT was custom built. And I sort of found a bit of a niche where I went into a business, assessed it, and said, right, this is what you need. I can custom build you something because I have a programming background as well as design. And it can run your business for you. And that's what I did. You know, you go in and they'd be like, row after row of different paper stacks. You know, someone would phone and go, right, it's Mrs. Smith on the phone. Oh, let me just get her account, and there'll be 2 minutes. And you know, oh, where's the orders? And it just, you can't run a business like that. And you know, the sort of systems that I built, it was expensive. Don't get me wrong, because it took a lot of time to build. But it meant that you didn't have to have 2 members of staff in the office that you normally would do, because your admin took, you know, probably 3 times as less as it did when you did have all the paper stack. Obviously more secure as well. No one likes to have all that risk, you know, stacked up because of a fire or, you know, theft or whatever could happen. At least they know that it's all backed up online, and you know that's why cloud's so big now. And then from there, really, the way that it sort of my career path took off is. My business partner I still got a company now in a mobile web design company. He was BT as well. He was senior management across the multiple offices. He was the sales side of the business. He approached me and basically got made redundant from BT. He's slightly older than myself, and his real only options were either relocate to BT, but it was down south and he was up north, or try and get another job later on in your career. But when your background's senior management and the wage reflects that and everything else that comes with it, it's not easy to walk into another job like that.
No.
And he came up with this idea about mobile websites, and he brought that to BT actually, probably about 6 months prior to him coming to me. He said, look, I think mobile websites are going to be great. I think we should roll it out into our customer base. And again, BT came up with the idea. We took the idea, hothoused it for 3 months, and then came back and said it's not for us quite now. Believe it or not, mobile websites. You know, we look at that now and think it's crazy how someone would say that, but this is what we said. I just probably didn't fit into their business model at the time. You know, they've got a lot of moving parts. So he approached me and said, look, I want to do this. I want to build up something similar to what we did. Would you be interested in coming on board? I know how good you was when we worked together at BT. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's something that I think is going to be huge as well. I can get on board with it. You know, anything I've done in business since then, I've always, again, had that passion for it, believe that it will work. I think you've got to do that. And we just started an office. You know, we started with a tiny office, probably, you know, the size of the garage I'm in now, home working. just me, my business partner, 2 desks, fax machine, believe it or not, a couple of phones and a couple of laptops. And the very first call, I'll never forget it. He rang a windscreen repair company, because obviously if you have a windscreen that's damaged, you're going to be on your mobile searching, you're not going to be on a laptop. And he phoned them and got 2 websites straight away from that very first deal.
Brilliant.
He didn't have a payment processor at that point. We was like, how the hell do you take payment? We had to send him an invoice via PayPal, and we had to send it in online. It was a bit crazy. And we went from that, that moment on, this, I think it's even 9 or 10 years now, but we went from, 70 grand turnover to 180 to 400 to 7 to 1.2, 1.6, 1.9. It's just literally gone, a real sort of growth company. We've gone from 1 office to 2. We went from me and him to 50 staff at one point. Definitely didn't need 50 staff. I think we just wanted to fill our new office that we had, and with bums on seats. That's definitely not the right thing to do, by the way. That's definitely a point of advice. And then never really sort of looked back, really. And we've managed to sort of get to a position now where we've got management in place, so we don't have to directly be involved in it as much as what we've had to do right at the beginning. But over lockdown, I've actually gotten more involved than I probably ever have in my life. It's I don't know why, but I just seem to be working a lot harder during lockdown than I've ever worked ever.
Yeah,
all good and positive.
Yeah, I think we're all working a bit harder, aren't we? Now we don't have that commute. You've got a couple of extra hours to spare, so it makes sense to put it into building the business and growing, I guess. So. Yeah. I had a few questions. I mean, it's great to see how you progressed from those early days of programming through to where the business was or is today, should I say? And there's a couple of things that stood out for me there. So you mentioned yourself and your partner, your business partner. You were considering options, and franchising was never an option, was it? Right? You didn't think about it at all.
No, it wasn't at all, to be fair. And the strange thing is that, and it probably sounds bad against, because I own a franchise, but before I actually got into franchising, I actually seen franchising as a bit of a taboo, a sort of area that I never would have considered. I always thought to myself, well, and this is what a lot of people probably think, is why would I do franchising when I can just do it myself and have 100% of the profits and 100% control of the business? That's my mindset back then. Actually going into franchising and being a franchisor, it's completely changed my mindset. Yeah, I'm quite fortunate that I've had both sides of the sort of, the tail, really. I've started a business from nothing and worked it up to obviously a large company, and I've also been a franchisor, so I've seen franchisees buy a franchise and make a success out of it. If I knew what I know now, I don't know if I would have done it differently, because I don't think it was a franchise pack that I could have got to sort of do what I did. But it's certainly opened my eyes up to it, and the advantages of having a franchise over starting your own business. It's just night and day. It really is.
What do you think is then the biggest difference between your experience of starting your own business and the experience of the franchisees that you're supporting through starting their own company now? What do you think is the big difference?
It's the knowledge. It all comes down to the knowledge. You forget about all the little things that you have to do in a business. And I've, since obviously starting that company, I now own several companies, and I've had to build them from the ground up on because again, there's no franchise pack that I could have just got. But you forget about the little things. It's everything from having insurance to making sure you've got HR policies, correct websites, creating marketing funnels, uniforms, branding logos, and that's just the small bits. You've got ongoing things all the time. I've got things that crop up that I've, even now, after 10 years in business, I've got things that I've never dealt with before that come on my plate. And, luckily, I've got a business partner, and we've both got shared responsibilities, and we've both handled different areas of the business. But I always like to think that with a franchise, it's like they've got the best business partner you could ever imagine, because it's not just one person, you've got a team of people behind you, and they're all experts in different areas, you know, whether it be the legal side of the business, whether it be the marketing, all the different areas. You've got someone that's an expert in the franchise network that can help you. And you don't have that when you start your own business, especially if you do it yourself. You know, you're reliant on other people, you're reliant on searching, making them errors. You know, it takes you a lot longer. You know, I've seen this in business for years and years and years. And what I actually did with my first business is unheard of, really. You don't go that kind of path on like this in that short, you know, that happened in 5 years' time, by the way. That wasn't like over that 10 years. That scale doesn't happen. It takes you many, many years to get to that kind of level. But with a franchise, it's like you're starting 3 years in rather than being straight from day one. You've done all that hard work by having that investment in the fee. That's probably the biggest advantage that I think comes into play, is that you've got not just one business partner, you've got 20 business partners that are all absolutely driven to make you a success. And it's refreshing as a franchisee to be like that.
Yeah, it's having those experts plugged into your business from day one, rather than having to build up a revenue to then be able to afford them as staff, right? They're there from day one. So yeah, makes sense. Cool. So we're talking about franchising now, and your current franchise. Let's go into that in a bit more detail. So, Lil Beatz, how did that come about, and how are you involved?
Yeah, bit of a strange story, really. So my business partner Vicky, who was the co-founder of Lil Beatz, it's all her idea, to be honest with you. She's also my partner in life, and you know, we've lived together for years and years. We're both actually Tinderellas and Tinder fellas. Actually, we both met on Tinder 4 years ago, and as soon as we met each other, you know, I don't want to sound love sick, but it was instant, you know, straight away, best friends. We just knew, you know, we wanted to be with each other for life. And after around sort of 12 months of being with her, she's from a dance background, so she danced from before, and very different lives from me and Vicky. She traveled the world, she lived in places like New York, Spain, London, and had a sort of dancing and traveling career. So she went out and traveled the world, and you know, that's great. You know, I love traveling myself. I had kids young, and you know, that was my life for the last sort of 16 years. But when we sort of got together, she had come back because her best friend who she was doing this traveling with, they started a dance school together, and part of that dance school was building up like street dance crews. And she was into competitions. It was really sort of competitive level. It takes a lot of work to be at that level, because it's not just running a dance class and then you can say goodbye and that's it. You've got to put a lot of practice in, a lot of weekends. You don't really sort of have that work-life balance, which obviously is very important. Yeah. So after several years of doing that, she made a really real success out of it. Her partner decided to go down the yoga route and the spiritual side of things, you know, and she's sort of taken that path in life. Wasn't really sort of something that my partner Vicky wanted to get, you know, keep going, because it's more of a two-person job to sort of keep it at that level. So she ended up going and teaching for other people. But one thing she did when she actually was running these crews and running her own dance school was a program called Lil Beatz, which was for young children, toddlers, and teaching them the basics of street dance, urban dance. But when I met her, she was teaching all over the place. So she was in Liverpool, she was in Southport, she was in Blackpool, she was coming home late, driving, commuting. You know, it just wasn't a nice place. You know, she didn't really know where she was coming and going. And I could see that she was a little bit unhappy, and I just said to her, look, you know, what do you want to do in life? Where are you the happiest? What will make you happy going forward? And she just looked at me and said, look, it's this program, Lil Beatz. I can't get it out of my head. When I was doing it, for myself, I just loved seeing the smile on a young child's face when I was teaching them basic street dance. And they could get involved and see the bigger kids or their brothers and sisters, and they could go home and show them moves of what they've learned compared to someone that was, competitive level. Rather than them sort of just sitting there watching all their siblings, in the dance class, they can join in themselves. And I said, that's great. I've got kids myself. I said, that's something that I can definitely get, help you achieve. And obviously I had a business background, marketing, web design, everything like that. So, I can easily help you. That's what I do. I help businesses get off the ground and get them established, and get a digital footprint out there. So I designed a logo, put that, did it myself, because I'm creative background and I like to sort of dabble every now and again. And we sent that across to her, looked great, and so I could do some t-shirts, for when we do the classes. So I put the logo on a t-shirt, and I'll never forget the moment. I put it on there and I thought, wow, that looks really good. I just couldn't stop staring, and I thought, you could probably make a clothing line with this logo. It just looks that it has that much impact. So I just remember I wrote a text out about 10 times, deleted, retyped it. Just basically around that I wanted to be involved in Lil Beatz. And I just didn't want her to think that I was taking over, this person that she's been with for 12 months. Just because you're a business person doesn't mean you can run a dance franchise. And I just sent her a text and I said, look, I'd love to be involved in this. Please feel free to sort of turn me down, but I think I can give you some, really good input here. And if I'm in it, I'm fully in it, and you'll get 100% of me. And it should be something that we can do together, and it could be a great lifestyle for us as well, because it's going to be UK based initially, but we've got worldwide plans, so we could do travel and mix with work, and it'd be great for us both. So from that moment on, she was fully on board with it, thankfully, and we've not looked back. We've spent the initial two years of the business, because we knew that we wanted to franchise straight away. By the way, this wasn't an idea where she wanted to create her own dance school. It was franchised from day one, which is very different to a lot of franchises as well, because a lot of them, in our sector anyway, I imagine it's probably same for others, is you'll start the business, make a success out of it, and then you realise that actually you've got something that other people could make a success out of, and then you franchise it. With us, we didn't do it like that. We basically said, look, we know we can make a success out of this. Let's franchise it from day one and work tirelessly for the next 2 years on creating that model that can work. So we spent the first 2 years producing music, developing apps, building websites. We designed our own clothing line, which we imported from abroad. We've had animations built. We've basically had countless amount of classes run with syllabuses that we've built, videos. We've done absolutely everything from the ground up to make sure we've got that full control over the business, so that when we went to franchise level, we knew that we could really make a success out of it. And obviously that meant a lot of testing. So Vicky started several classes locally. So I took over the marketing to make sure I could drive students to it, which was a massive success. Believe it or not, the dance industry is very easy to generate new students and customers compared to other industries that I've dealt with. Trying to generate a web design lead compared to a new dancer, trust me, it's very different. So I knew that I could easily do that. And once you've built a sort of sales funnel and a marketing funnel to do that, it's easily replicated against other areas. So we did that, and that was a success. We easily filled classes, and then the feedback we had on the other side from the children that were taking the classes was amazing. They absolutely loved the songs. The moves were, great. The children could take part and, not feel it was too difficult. And the next step was sort of just scaling really and seeing if we can move it to another area and replicate it in that area. So the first franchise we signed up was in Manchester, in Withenshaw. Again, we converted the model over. It was someone that we knew, so we made sure that, there was going to be teething issues. It's naive to think that you can just go to another level and not have any issues in the business. But yeah, we went through them teething issues. Classes started filling. We ended up getting success out of that franchise. And the sort of next level for us really was to officially launch our business, take it to that next level.
You mean launch it as a franchise?
Yeah, basically. Because again, we didn't want to take people on board in that stage, and then we come across as this finished package, and then they realise that there is several bugs within their software or the app or whatever it be.
Yeah,
we didn't want to have flaws in that technique, because it doesn't matter how many years you've been going, you're always going to have little bugs or issues come up, and it's how you deal with them. So I massively believe in automation. I've got it in all my businesses, and it's one of my sort of top 3 things in business that I always recommend to others. And I wanted to make sure that was in place, because it stopped errors and it made sure that human error can't occur in a business. So we put all these weird and wonderful things in place, like if you miss your register, doing your student register, you get a push notification, or first class, you get a text message, a parent does, and the reminder to come to class. All these different things we put in place. So when we had all that in place to launch the franchise as a whole, we were confident, and we knew that we could make a real success out of it. We did our first show last year, which was the Can You Dance Teachers show. I thought it'd be perfect because that's our ideal market. So we knew that we'd be in front of all our potential customers. Went there, and it was a massive success. It really was. We had so many people come up to us, so many people request more information, people coming back several times to ask more questions, all around. Got a load of leads, and it was brilliant. And then probably about 2 weeks later, the whole country got shut down, and we all know the rest of the story from there. But we've still managed to sign up quite a lot of leads as franchises over that the last 12 months, which I think is a great feat, considering the dance industry has been affected so much. And we've got a pipeline of hundreds of franchises. So I'm very, very confident that this is the start of us building a very successful sort of franchise.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So when deciding to grow this business, why did you choose franchising model rather than building it like a traditional business?
It's probably because we wanted to keep control over the brand. So obviously the idea got floated, and we started looking at the business models and what you can do. We could license the Lil Beatz out to dance teachers and probably spread the word even faster. But the issue is with that is that you don't have control of how the dance classes are being taught. You can do the training, you can put things in place to sort of say you need to be doing this. But unlike franchising, you're not checking in with your franchises or the teachers that are teaching the classes on a regular basis. So you're not sure on how that's getting received by the customer. With us, this isn't just a franchise business. We've got huge plans to diversify and put things in place that takes us beyond being a franchise. What we're trying to do is create a brand. We want this to be recognised by any child around the world, hopefully, let's dream big, for many reasons, whether that be, they're buying our street, our urban clothing line, because that's independent to our dance classes, or whether that be that they buy one of our children's books, or they see one of our animations on YouTube and want to follow our YouTube channel. many different platforms that we can get customers in that isn't based on the franchise. But if one area lets us down and we start getting a bad reputation for, cheap clothing, or one of our classes is, we're getting bad reviews, there's loads of different ways that we can let the brand down as an overall. And all you got to do is look at the big brands in the world. Some have complete control over their brand, i.e. Disney. And they've got an absolute amazing credentials, and it's a brand name that everyone knows and loves. You can look at other companies out there, and I won't mention them, but you probably know them yourself, where you say the brand name and they've got a bad reputation, bad customer service or bad product, bad service. There's so many different things. So to keep full control over your brand, we believe that the only route was to franchise it. And so we have more control over how the brand's distributed across the world.
And you mentioned there about your brand and growing it in different directions. So what's kind of the core driver for Lil Beatz in terms of the brand and what messages you're trying to put out there?
Absolutely. The main aim of the brand is to promote diversity to children. I don't believe that it's currently done in the best of ways at the moment. It's something that's very, very close to mine and my business partner's hearts. So my business partner, Vicky, she's her heritage is half Welsh and half Bayesian. So her family's from Barbados, her dad's side, and her mum's side is from Wales. So she's got mixed heritage in her blood, and I'm very, very close to her side of the family as well. And there's quite a sort of great story about how they sort of came over to the UK and set up of their life here, really, and the rest is history. But because of that, and sort of the stories that Vicky's experienced, the thing that she's experienced in life, and her family, a dad and a grandparents. It's something that we're very, very passionate about instilling in young children. Like I said, I don't think it's done very well at the minute. I do believe that it's sort of getting forced down children's throats rather than it being influenced into their lives. Adults and children alike will always learn things a lot quicker, and we'll take things on board if we enjoy them. It's simple, isn't it? So what our aim is with the brand is to bring different cultures from around the world into children's lives, and let them experience dance styles or songs from different countries. Well, eventually, thinking further afield, we can expand this into eating ranges or different clothing styles that are influenced. Our animations, everything that around the brand will slowly but surely start introducing them. We already focus heavily on our music and our dance syllabus. It's all a mixture of different cultures. So we have Bhangra, we have dancehall, we have reggae, we have street, all these weird and wonderful dance moves and songs around the world. We've included it in Lil Beatz. It truly is the most diverse children's syllabus out there, and it's always going to be one of our absolute driving factors, because we've already seen how it can impact on a small level. One of the things that always pops into my head, and it keeps driving me for this, is the first time we did a Bhangra inspired song. The population in Blackpool, for instance, we don't have a large population, an Indian population, but we do have a few in our classes spread out across Blackpool. And when we first released this song, we played it in one of our classes, and one of the students in the class, normally very, very shy, his eyes lit up, and he was busting moves like you've never seen before. He really was. He couldn't be more excited. And then he's seen other students in the class also join in with that song. And it's obviously a type of style of song that he hears at home, that he experiences with his family, and for him to be able to connect that with people in his class from different heritage and experience it with them, that same heritage, and talk about it, talk about it as well. It just completely opened our eyes up to what can be achieved with it if you can do this on scale. We've already done the inroads, and that's the ethos of the company. It really is. But I think we can make a much bigger impact of influencing children about diversity and culture if we can scale this up with our different branches of the brand.
I think it's fantastic because, like you said, kids don't really see different races, really, do they, from a young age? But what ends up happening is they kind of get pushed down one route or another and hidden away from kind of, like you say, Bhangra music or something like this because their parents don't listen to it. But putting them in an environment where it's all just the normal and they all enjoy and experience it, I think it lays a good foundation for diversity in the world, doesn't it? So I think it's great what you're doing. I really love it, and I love the idea that it can be expanded out into food as well. I love feeding my kids curries and stuff like that. and getting them to try stuff, because that's like the fun part of life for me. It's variety, learning and experiencing. So
it is.
I love it.
There's nothing better, is there? And I didn't travel a hell of a lot when I was younger. Not until I was probably, the last 5 years really, I travelled. And there's absolutely nothing better than seeing a new place, engaging with different cultures, local people that have lived there for years and years and years. You just can't beat it. It opens your eyes up to this bigger world out there that, I was personally so naive to, and it's great.
Yeah, excellent. So you shared a nice inspirational story with us there about the young lad, but I'm wondering, has there been any funny or strange stories that you've experienced across your working life, either as a business owner or as a franchisor or as an employee?
To be fair, there's a lot of things that happen to me that are interesting, embarrassing, all the rest of it, but never in a working atmosphere. But probably the most sort of inspiring thing that sort of happened to me is probably my father-in-law, if I'm being honest. My father-in-law, his mum and dad came over from Barbados to the UK to create a better life for themselves. And they left him with his grandparent at the time, and they did it to make a better life for him, which is a massive thing when you actually think about how children are so sort of mollycoddled these days, aren't they, with the parents. And he got left, and to this day he always says that it didn't really sort of impact in them. He still felt the love around him, and now looking back, obviously, he was just in awe of his mum and dad, for what they did. But he got brought over when I think he was around 10 at the time. And as a black man in Southport, where he went to, he was one of, a handful of black people in Southport at that time. So, this was 30, 40 years ago. So it wasn't where, we're in a society now where we are multicultural and have all these experiences. But he had to really sort of put a lot of effort into, finding a job, finding a career, making a life for himself. And he went from driving trucks to owning a multi-million-pound transport company with a couple of business partners. And he did all that just pretty much by himself. He took that risk. He made the effort of, again, like I did, I had to sort of be the best. I had to put myself out there. But it was 10 times harder for him because he was, a minority at the time, and it was, he had an uphill battle. And just, he eventually ended up selling the company and exiting. And just every time I hear that story and everything to do with it, and the inner battles that he had to take over the years, it just really, really drives me forward each day. That every time I think about it, it really does.
I guess especially for Little Beatz, where you can have an impact, so it's not so tough for certain people out there, you know. So yeah, that's cool. That's a nice story. So we're approaching kind of the end of the time here, I think, but I wanted to ask you one more question, and this is around kind of people that are perhaps thinking about joining a franchise business, whether it's yours or any others. What one piece of advice would you give them?
It depends if they are already a business owner and then they may want to attach a franchise onto their network, or it's their first business. If it's their very first business, all I would say, and I say this to franchisees that approach us and ask to be a franchisee, is make sure the time is right for you, and make sure you understand the hard work that comes with it. Because, you know, I've, over the sort of 10, 15 years that I have been in business, I've had a lot of people that have worked for me, and then they've gone up and set up their own company. And, you know, they look at me, they look at my business partner, they see nice things that we might have, they see us taking, you know, multiple holidays a year and all the rest of it, being able to take time off work to play golf or whatever we want to do, and think, I want to do that myself. You know, I can do it myself. I'm sure I can do that. And you don't realise the amount of hard work that goes into it. You really don't. You don't see the first several years that I put into the business, where I was working stupid hours every single day, nights, weekends, to get the business to where it was. And they don't see still now. The emails that I'm sending out at 6 a.m. in the morning, or the sleepless nights that I have because an issue's come up at work and I'm lying there staring at the ceiling at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's everything around that obviously you don't really think of. And you know, all the people that have left me over the time, they haven't actually made a success out of themselves, because they haven't had the drive and the focus to get to that stage. Obviously, with franchising, it's a lot different. You know, the good thing about franchising is, you know, if you are at that point where you do want to make a success like yourself and you want to go it alone, you want to be your own boss, you know, the chances of success are greatly improved when you're in a franchise. You know, you will have probably them sleepless nights still. You probably will be sending out things at 6 o'clock in the morning, but you've got someone that is by your side, again, a team that's by your side, that can quickly help you out on a subject. You know, if something's come in and it's worrying you, you pick up the phone anytime. You know, it's not a 9 to 5 thing, the franchise. You know, I take phone calls at 11 o'clock at night sometimes. I even consult my franchises about their other businesses. I'm one of those people that will take your call no matter when it is. The team does. You know, we're all passionate about it because it's not just your business, it's a brand business. So, you know, it affects us all, and I'm extremely passionate about it. So if it's your first business, just again, make sure that you it's the right time for you, because you do need to dedicate a lot of time to making it a success. You know, we'll give you that head start, we'll give you all the tools you need, but make sure you have, you know, it's the right time for you. And make sure you realise how hard it's going to be. You know, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not a magic ticket to being a success. It's you know, a 12-month push into the right direction and a great support network, but it's not you know, a free ticket to that place.
You're still a business owner, right? At the end of the day.
Absolutely. And if you've already got a business, one thing that I always see in businesses, and it drives me up the wall, is that someone will have 5 businesses and none of them are a real success. They've got 5 businesses that are just ticking along. You know, that's no way to be, you know, an entrepreneur, as you would say. Obviously, they want to be an entrepreneur because they've got multiple businesses and they want, you know, multiple things to be a success. But the only way to do it properly is if you make a success of one business and then let that be self-sustainable, and then move on to another project, or, you know, exit that project, make a profit, and then move on to your next. You know, I am only able to have multiple businesses because I've made a success out of one. I've got a management team in place. It doesn't require me to have 100% of my time dedicated to that. I could drop in with my businesses 1 hour of the day, and I have teams under me that can run them businesses. So all I would say as a bit of advice is if you're going to add this onto your current dance school or your current network of businesses, please make sure that you are a success in your own business before you think of taking on something else. Because all it will do is stress you out, give you more headaches, won't make anything else a success. It'll just probably make you think, why am I doing any of it?
Yeah, you got to give it 100% to build any business, right? Whether it's a franchise or otherwise, you still need to put in that time and effort to get it off the ground. I've heard it been described before, starting a business like getting a jumbo jet off the runway, right? Yeah, it's going to take a lot of fuel, a lot of energy to keep it, to even get it moving. Once it's taken off and it's up in the air, you know, you can kind of glide for a little bit and it's okay. It'll be fine. But
it is. It's, you know, I always describe it. I like to describe it as it's like you being on a diet. You know, you can get caught up in losing something every single week, right? But as soon as you don't, you get disheartened, and then it's quite easy to fall off the wagon and get McDonald's and just lose focus and go off the diet. You know, we see how many people are on diet 1 week and then not the other. A business, you don't have, you know, you're not going from 0 to 60 and winning new customers and, you know, getting more profit and all the rest of it. Sometimes it can take years. And it's easy to get disheartened with the slow progress in a company. But, you know, 9 companies out of 10, you don't make a profit the first year. You know, you've got to be in this for the long road. And it's not easy. You know, you've got to be prepared to have that focus to make it last. And if you don't have that drive and focus, you will get disheartened halfway through and decide it's not for you.
Perfect. Adam, that was great advice. And so thank you very much for your time, for sharing all of your stories and your advice with us today. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for being on The Franchised.
No problem. I really enjoyed it.
Cheers. Take care now.
Yeah, you too. Cheers. Bye-bye.